definitely for me. I'd put it above football, above rugby, because it's what's going to get me places, after, rugby's finished for me. So, I think that probably stems back to my parents. They've always emphasised how important it is, and I agree with that philosophy. Obviously there's always going to be a degree of, inherent intelligence, but I think a lot of it has to do with hard work.
He was always going to be a student athlete in every sense, student first and athlete second, and that was certainly part of the conversation when he started here. We wanted to make sure we were able to support him in order to achieve both goals.
I've got a very clear picture in my head of what I want to get out of my time here and what I want to achieve.
2017, Nudgee old boy and current Brisbane Broncos squad member Ethan the Bull Bullemor. Thank you for giving up your time today, and welcome to episode 2 of the Nudgee Rugby Webinar series.
Thanks, mate. It's good to be back, and thanks for having us.
So, mate, while you're at Nudgee, we called you the Bull because you ran like one, and obviously it's short for Bullemor. I believe you've picked up a new nickname at the Broncos. You want to tell us about that?
What's that one, mate? I think it's still the same one, isn't it?
I thought they were calling you the Genius.
The Genius. Oh, that's a good one, actually. That is a good one. I don't mind that. I'll take that one. But yeah, I think that was more one of the fellas said that to one of the media members, and then they sort of took that and ran with it. But I don't know. I think I like Bully a bit more.
Why would they call you the Genius, mate?
Oh, I don't know, mate. On my day, I'm half smart, but the boys are always quick to remind me that I've got no street smarts and no common sense. So, yeah.
Well, let's pick up on that book, Smart. So, you are obviously studying at the moment, mate. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yep. Yeah. So, when I finished school, I went into UQ doing a Bachelor of Finance and Economics. So, yeah, this will be my third year at uni doing that, but for the past 2 I've had to be doing part-time because obviously footy commitments are pretty high. So, but yeah, so I did 1 year full-time and then 2 years part-time, but no, really enjoying it, and yeah, it's definitely challenging.
So that must be challenging, training full-time and then studying. How many subjects are you able to manage at the moment?
Yeah, well, I definitely struggled a bit more last year, being the sort of first year of being in that full-time environment. So I'm doing 2. Last year for 1 semester, I just dropped back to 1 because I was just overloaded. But I think there was definitely a lot of lessons to be had last year about it. Sort of it's hard when you're in that professional environment, and footy seems like your career. It's pretty easy, and you can see how a lot of people can just sort of think it's going to last forever. Because every day you're basically just there competing. You just want to get that jersey, and sometimes it's pretty hard to leave training and then go, okay, I'm going to go study. So a few challenges along the way, but just sticking at it, and we'll get it done.
So what does a day look like when you're trying to fit in training and study?
Yeah, well, I mean, as I'm sure any footy player would tell you, pre-season's a tough bit. In season's a bit more relaxed, but our sort of pre-season schedule is pretty brutal. You'd be up 5:30 every day, at the club by 6:30, 7. Then you go through all your sort of physical prep and your screening. So we call it screening. So basically checking if you've got any niggles, tightness. Then addressing that with stretching and all our prehab. And then, we would go through meetings. So every morning we have meetings, position specific, team based, whatnot. So we have about, 3 hours generally from 7 to 10 before we actually hit the field, just with all that meeting and preparation. And then, so then, about 10 o'clock we go on field, do about 90 minutes, an hour to 90 minutes. Sometimes you get a longer one, but finish that up. Have a quick break, have lunch for about an hour break, and then go do gym. And then on Sundays you do gym, then go to wrestle. So throughout pre-season, most days you start at 6:30 and not finishing up till about 4:30, and do that pretty much 4 days a week, then a half day on Wednesday. So obviously, like in that space, it's just so easy just to be like, you don't want to go home and open the books up and crack into it. But thankfully, though, uni doesn't really start till after pre-season. So, sort of in that February is when we go into uni. So a bit easier in season, do about 3 sessions a week, and then, it's good.
Oh, that's good. And how have you been going with your marks at uni? Have you still, obviously while you're at Nudgee, you were very competitive with everything you did, and that was both at training, on the field, and with your study. And I think that competitiveness drove you to be the best you could be in all areas of your life. Have you still been managing to?
Yeah, I agree. I've always been a really competitive person, and I hate losing. And I think last year in particular, so my first year when I went in, I was doing uni full time, and I was doing pretty well. I was really happy with how I was going. And then that next year, I definitely you sort of just subconsciously let it slip a bit. Just more focused on trying to perform at training every day. So I think there was a lot of lessons to be learned out next year, but I feel good about this year. And
well, to give our viewers a bit of an idea of the sort of student you were when you were at Nudgee, that competitiveness came out in all areas of your life. And in English, there was some sort of competition with spelling words, and there was an online spelling quiz.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, I can briefly remember. It was with Miss Moore. I'm sure that was, Miss Moore. But basically, I remember just going back. So it was sort of a competition in class. I can't remember who it was. One of the boys kept just trying to pit me. So we'd do it for like 5 minutes, and someone would get on top. And then you should go, okay, we're done now. But then I'd just sort of be sitting there on my computer to the side, just looking up at her, but just going. And then I went home. I can't believe I've done it. But I've sat there for about 2 hours and just done this ridiculous, pointless spelling. Well, it wasn't pointless, but some spelling game. I just sat there for hours just doing this. And I think I ended up coming in with I don't know. I think most people score was about 10,000. I think I was about 200,000.
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Another way that you expressed your competitiveness was in the gym. And just speaking to Harry Westbrook, who was the Director of Strength and Conditioning when you were here, and you're still in the role, he says that you never wanted anyone to arrive at gym before you. So always there. That was something that you were big on.
Yeah. Well, I think also the routine of it as well was massive for me. Every morning I'd try to get up the same time, go through the same thing. And it was just another one of those things, I guess, you don't want anyone to be outworking you. That's something I felt I was big on. I didn't want to be outworked by anyone else. And, I guess it's also trying to set a bit of a standard and a culture in a way, probably. But I was always in there stretching and rolling out or whatever it was I was doing. Definitely that was a big thing for me. And I think especially it probably is really good. I think, and Harry was massive on that. He was really helpful with, giving me direction about all that preparation and, the stuff you can do to prevent injury, outside of just lifting and, all the different stretching exercises and whatnot. And that probably has been really helpful for me, because especially, going up to the Bronx, it's, there's a massive emphasis on it. It's huge. You do it an hour every day at least, plus, whatever your individual needs are. So, it was definitely a good habit to get into.
Well, I think it worked. I was lucky enough to be shown around the Red Hill training facility at the start of 2019. So you would have been out of school for just over 12 months. And I got shown through the gym, and they have all the screens up around the different areas in the gym, and they have all the current record holders for the different lifts. So you're out of school for 13 or 14 months, and there's your name up in the top 3. And I asked the gentleman who was showing me around if that was a list of the academy players, and he said, no, that's the list of the top A grade players. So mate, that's pretty impressive. I think a lot of our young listeners would want to know some finer details, mate. So what's your max bench now?
So I actually got it this year. I actually got the number 1 spot, so I hit 175 for one.
And squat?
230.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't know. Like, gyms. There's plenty of good footy players out there who, are hopeless in the gym. One of my roommates upstairs can testify to that. But yeah, I think for me, it's just always been like I want to tick as many boxes as I can. So if I can get myself in the best physical shape, then that's one less thing to worry about, and then you can just focus on trying to play good footy.
Yeah, that's some really good messages, and you're picking up on some things that you've obviously been brought up well. Do you want to talk a little bit about your childhood, mate? So where did you grow up?
Yep. Yeah, so I grew up out in a little country town called Springshaw. So that's in the Central Highlands, so central Queensland. So it's about 70 k's away from Emerald, which is another small town, but a little bit bigger. So yeah, I grew up out there. Dad worked for Ergon Energy, and Mum was a primary school teacher where I went to school. So they were mad Bronx fans always. Sort of just your typical Queenslander Dad was, and so I was playing footy from when I was 5 years old. I think at the time I remember I got kicked out halfway through the season because I think you have to be 6, but I was playing when I was like 5. And I remember I got kicked out halfway through the season. And I cried for about half the year. And, just couldn't believe I wasn't allowed to play. And but no, it was really good. I loved it. Like my parents were massive for me with footy. When you're playing under 6s, your game's starting at 8 a.m. 9 a.m. and they're only about 20 minutes, but we'd be driving 3 hours to Moranbah or Claremont or all these towns 2.5, 3 hours away, because that's what the comp back there is like. I was a 6-year-old kid, play 20 minutes of football and we'd drive home. So we'd be up at 4 a.m. So I'm always going to be really grateful to them for that, which obviously sort of laid the foundations. And then
Oh, that's great. So you started playing at a young age. What positions were you playing going through those early years?
Yeah, well, I changed around a fair bit. So, like when I first was playing as a kid, you don't really have positions. Obviously, from that sort of 6 to maybe 8 or 9, you sort of everyone just basically stood in the middle and you get past the ball. But then, when I was 10, I was sort of like a tall, lanky, kid, and I had a bit of speed. So I was playing centre when I was 10. Then, so probably played centre 10, 11. And then I think when I was 12, it was when I was 12, I got put into the back row. So I played back row. So that was the under 12s state champs. I was playing back row and so I played that for a bit. Then 13, I went back to centre. So sort of was centre back row. And then 14, I think I grew about 10 centimetres and put on about 15 kilos. And from then on, I was sort of front rower.
Yeah.
So,
So
played a bit of back row.
Playing predominantly league up until under 15, and then made the move south down to Nudgee. What brought you down to Nudgee?
Oh, well, Dad rang me up and, I just was sort of over the moon. I thought it was an awesome opportunity. And obviously at that stage, education, which has always been a big thing for me. So, I knew it was, a school that could offer me, the sort of things I wanted out of that market. And then obviously, the amazing sports program, like a famous sports program, with, a lot of good raps on it. So I was just stoked, in all honesty. I was at a different boarding school, TCC at the time, and which I also really loved, but I just straight away I just couldn't wait. I just wanted to get there, and it's probably the best decision I've ever made, in all honesty. Like I had the best 2 years, and made some great friends, contacts, and really set me up, I think.
Yeah, that's great. And let's talk a little bit about your time in boarding school. So you came down for year 11 and 12. What did you like about boarding?
Yeah, so I think it's funny. I think it suits some people's personalities and others it doesn't. So like for example, my sister went to boarding school and she couldn't do it. She dropped out and left. But me, I just loved it. I like the routine of it. As I said, I've always been a really routine. Like I think I do best when I've got like routine and a bit of structure to my life. So, it was getting up every morning, go down and train or whatever it was, and, breakfast the same time at the dining hall, then, go to school, come home, do a bit of study, go training, study, dinner. Like I really like that part of it. And, obviously it was just heaps of fun as well. It's realistic, just living with your mates all the time, best mates there, every day, got to have dinner, lunch, breakfast with them every day, just, that was really enjoyable. I loved it. And, there's just countless other, fun things we do, all the activities that Nudgee runs and, footy, obviously, we're all, most of sort of my mates now, we all were in the footy program together. So, it was
inspirational teachers that you had while you were here.
Yeah, I had some really good ones. Obviously, talking about Cotter, Crossy, Mr. Cross was our head supervisor, and he was always, really good to me. I think he's a really good bloke, and, definitely enjoyed my time with him in that sense. And then, as you mentioned before, I was lucky enough to have Miss Nardi, who, she's just a legend. I think everyone, in the school and probably Brisbane loves her. So she was great. Miss Moore, my English teacher, she's I still have had a chat to her every now and then since I finished school, and she was massive. It was probably one of my favourite subjects, English, with her. I really liked it. The rugby director was an all right bloke too.
What about the rugby coach? What about GA?
Scots. GA and Scots, yeah, well, they both got very different approaches, I think. GA is very, very technical, and I think that there's a lot to be taken out of that. I think he had that technical view of the game, which, the analysis, I remember he was always really big on the analysis. We'd do our line-out prep and all that sort of stuff, and that was great. Definitely taught me a lot in that aspect, which, if you're talking about transferable skills outside of it, obviously that sort of analyzing via video, and that's massive, in I guess, the NRL world and the pro sports world. We spend sort of hours, just watching opposition and then watching yourself and learning. So, I really enjoyed my time with him. And, Scott's as the assistant coach, I think I really liked what he brought in terms of attack. And, I think he's a pretty clever football brain too. So I love that. Even, Mr. Ralston was great. Popo, we had a pretty good crew, didn't we? It was really good. Harry, obviously Harry in the gym, spent a lot of time with him and still see him around the shop. He sort of, comes in the Bronx a bit. He's, all that. I think definitely the staff and the quality of the staff is a big testament to the school. You can't really pick any ordinary staff out of the whole organisation. They're all great.
What about what did you? Obviously, you hadn't played a heap of union. What did you like about union?
Yeah, no, I at the end of the day, I've always loved footy. There's differences, but at the end of the day, you sort of get the ball and you run that way, and got to put it over the line. I definitely liked. I played 6, but I think I sort of ran as a second inside centre off the line out a lot of the time. So I sort of liked that. You get a bit of, even though there's more players on the field, quite often you'd find more space, in that sort of back line and that structured attack, sort of be able to, run a few lines and get a few one-on-ones, which I definitely enjoyed. And I think it's just a really pure form of footy that, looking back on it, that schoolboy rugby, it was just the best time. The crowds there, all your schoolmates are in the stands. You can't not enjoy it, whereas I guess out of school, you still love your footy, but there's that added pressure, sort of doing it almost for a career. It's you've got a bit more on your mind going into game day, and sometimes I think, and we talk about it quite a lot actually, when you don't want to get away from why you started playing footy and you still want to go out there and have fun. And, sometimes it's easy to sort of get lose that sort of schoolboy feeling of, running out on Ross Oval in front of, 5,000 people, all just cheering you on. That's one of the best feelings I've ever had. And, probably one of the, if not the most enjoyable footy I've ever played.
Just while we're on the topic of your time playing in the blue and white jersey, I've got a question from Year 7 student Hunter Warby. He says, "What was your most memorable moment while playing rugby at Nudgee?"
Yeah. I think we didn't lift the trophy till the end of the year in my senior year, which was pretty crazy. But that terrace game, like, I just think about that all. I watch that video even to this day sometimes. It just gives me goosebumps. Like, you know, I don't know if it was the rugby gods or whatever, but someone wrote the perfect script for that game. And I think that's got to go down as, you know, one of the all times. Like, just, you know, I'm referring to our first game. I think that was our first game of the year. Gregory Terrace at home. It was like, there would have had to be about 10,000 people there. That day was huge. And obviously, you know, the whole going down, scoring on the final whistle, re-kick conversion, slots it. Like, I remember just standing with my hands on my head, before he kicked it. Yeah, you know, credit to Ray. I mean, a year 10 kid, you know, he was 15 at the time, just steps up and, you know, makes a big play. Like, that's, you know, I don't know, at whatever level, you know, wherever in the world, I think that's pretty much footy, isn't it? That's sort of the epitome.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to top.
Yeah.
That particular moment for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about your 2 years in the first 15. So yeah, as you mentioned, you played at 6, and we definitely used you as that edge ball running player. You didn't really, we weren't too interested in heading to too many breakdowns.
No. Yeah.
We didn't have a choice.
No. Yeah. You know, I think I wasn't much of a pilferer or a rucker or a mauler. You know, that's probably, obviously, I guess, you know, if you want to highlight the difficulty moving from league to union, that's probably it for me, especially. Like, you know, struggled, the difference in tackling technique, you know, the different, you know, the sort of low chop, get up. But no, like, as I said, I just loved it. You know, I love, you know, whatever it was. I had, you know, the best fun. And as I sort of like carrying the ball, I'm a ball carrier. So that's sort of, you know, I tried to work on my weaknesses as best I could, and then, you know, I guess play to your strengths.
How many?
Which is probably,
you'd probably remember these stats because you're pretty competitive. How many tries did you score when you played for Nudgee? Can you remember?
Over the 2 years, I think in my senior year I had 8. It was 8 in the first year. Maybe 5 in the first year, 4 or 5 in the first year, so 13 or so.
I remember a try you scored against Ipswich Grammar. The game was in the balance. We were playing at their school. They had their big old boys day at the school. Yeah. You got the ball like we normally did, fed it to you off a 5-man line out and just watch you do your thing. And I think you ran 60 metres, ran over the top of half their team and scored.
Well, yeah, I remember. I do remember the one. Joe Smalley was just giving me pearlers all day. I think him and I just found a weakness. But I think before that play, I'd had another one where I just had noticed that whatever, I think it was either their 12 or their 13 was just getting isolated as like. So then I think it must have been their 12 was biting on Joe, and their 13 was just trying to legs tackle me. And it wasn't working for him. Like, he was hard. Like, he wasn't even like, I think I don't know what he was doing, but he was just off the mark a bit. So he wasn't really getting close. So there was one before that. Yeah, we just had that play, and that was our play. I think Smalley got it off maybe the 9 or the 10. And then he'd, you know, go to the line and basically just play to me short on an unders. And so, yeah, it worked. It worked for the play before, and I made a bit of a break, I think, and then went down or something like that. So basically the next one, we got the same setup, and me and him were just each other and like, oh, we're on here. Like, and yeah, you know, lucky enough, pretty much got just put in an open hole. We didn't really have to run over anyone. So it just was, you know, open space. And yeah, that's sort of, yeah, that's always what I've enjoyed most in footy, getting to see a bit of daylight. But no,
and you got some wheels. You've obviously got some wheels. You were quick when you were here, but if you're paying any attention to the media, they've been talking you up as being one of the quickest. Talk about your speed.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's just one of those things. I guess if looking back on when I was younger, I was always a back. I always had a bit of speed, and I guess I've been lucky enough to maintain it. I think we're definitely really big on that as well. In a training sense, we're always doing speed work and high speed running and training, and they measure it a lot. Like it's really big to them. Your top speed, because obviously I think especially in footy, it's a pretty deadly weapon being able to be faster than the other bloke. Makes things better for you and harder for them. So that's a big focus for us. We sort of record all our top speeds and work on that and work on our high speed running technique like we do in pre-season, especially, and even in season. Well, we only had the short in season block obviously before all this happened, but we still would do 10, 15 minutes of just what we call like running tech and running preparation. So that's all you sort of you're just getting in good postures and that. So it's a big emphasis at that level, and it's just something I guess we keep working on, and I've been lucky enough to maintain a bit.
Yeah, even with putting the size on, obviously when you do load up, and what are you weighing now?
Yeah, so I'm about 107, 108 probably. Last year I was actually heavier, so I was actually playing for most last year at 110.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all right. Like I've never really put much emphasis on my weight. Like I've probably been, I guess, lucky in the sense I just pretty much every year since I was about 15, I sort of was just putting on 3, 4, 5 kilos. And that's sort of like I think in grade, like I'm not that much heavier than I was in grade 12. But I think I was a bit sloppier in grade 12. Like grade 12, I was running around about 105, 106. So
a bit sloppier. What? So you don't think we trained you hard enough? Well, I'll have to get into Harry about that.
I think you being a 17-year-old compared to a 20-year-old, I think I've hardened up a bit, in terms of your sort of physique and that. I think we definitely train hard enough.
I want to talk a little bit about that training. A lot of the boys here, and when they finish, they would say that Nudgee first 15 pre-season is one of the hardest things they've done in their life. And obviously they don't have anything to compare that with. Now that you've left school and you've been in that professional environment, comparing school training and footy, and obviously then to that next level.
So I think it's a really interesting comparison, and it's a good one to think about because there's things that you can mirror at any level. You know what I mean? So whether you're in school, playing NRL, playing Q Cup or, Super Rugby, whatever it is, a fitness drill is always going to be hard. You know what I mean? So you've got your fitness drills, you run to that line and back in 15 seconds and do that 8 times. Like that's always going to be hard. It's always going to be, really, tough on you. But I guess then the thing that I found stepping up into first grade, it's the way we train, especially, we'll do that, conditioning block, which is brutal. And then it's straight into a game scenario, into skills, at the highest level. When you've got those, elite players around you, you can't switch off. Like, and you see it, especially, when it was first year out of school, and even to this day, and it happens to everyone, but, you switch off for 1 second, lean too far that way, turn your shoulders, a fraction that way, even for a second to think about reading, a dummy, or you're just gone. Like when you got blokes like, Anthony Milford and, Andrew McCulloch, they've been around too long. You can't, they're 6 steps ahead of you. If you even give them, the slightest inch, they're just going to take it and you're going to get, dumb. But, to put that in perspective, what I'm sort of saying, I think, is that, the training we did at Nudgee it's an elite program, like you've got a whole staff dedicated, we probably have, Broncos probably only have about 2 or 3 more, actual staff attributed to the whole program who work with us, so it's like we had, a great operation running there, and that, that's what I think, the level that we trained at and the level that was expected in terms of fitness and extras, I think was, right up there. We were doing all the same things. I think obviously the only thing that changes is, just obviously the skill level keeps rising. and as the talent pool, and also I guess it gets a bit more serious. I think that's probably the other difference is, to put like there's when it's more of a professional environment. But yeah.
What about have you done a pre-season camp with the Broncos or one of those like army training? Yeah, talk us through.
Yeah, we had a rough one this year. So I've done a few. I did one when I was at Nudgee actually, which was really tough. We were 16, so we did one then. But yeah, we did another one this year. We went off to sort of like out past Toowoomba, basically like a farm, sort of bush, and yeah, it was a good one. It was pretty brutal. So we sort of knew what it was going to be. Like they don't give you any delusions. Like we basically got told, it's 3 days of hell. So we sort of got there, and so our what do you call him? Our welfare manager. He's served in the army. He was SAS, so he sort of runs all those things, and then he's got a few mates, so they all come along. Like we all know them. They've all been doing these camps for us for years. But so yeah, it was basically just we were out in the middle of the nowhere. It was boiling hot. It was the start of January. It would have been about 35 degrees out there, and we saw they limit your water, limit your food. Hardly ate. Didn't sleep for 3 days. Like it was the first night we were basically got they do what they call like PT, like personal training stuff. So it's just brutal, just carrying logs and tires and stuff, just up and down hills and the bush. And then we got so we had to build our own like shelters based on a tree, so just stack branches up, and they gave us like two, so we were in groups of 10 or 11, 3 groups, and each group built their own shelter, and between 11 blokes it would have been a shelter maybe about it was tiny. We were sleeping on top of each other, and between everyone there was about 2 blankets and like 1 yoga mat. Sleep on the ground like dirt, just in dirt with bugs crawling over you. We'd try and sleep, and then so you'd sort of half getting tired, then off would go the shotgun and run up. So we'd be back out doing stuff, and that's pretty much just how it went for days. For 3 days, 2 nights. So those are pretty tough.
The worst part of that for you would have been not being able to eat. We know you love your food.
Yeah. Oh, mate. Well, that's the thing though. Just it's just mentally, you're not there. Like you can't stay with it, not being able to eat. Because it was almost, they'd use it as a bit of a torturous thing. So they'd, throw on this barbecue, which obviously you can picture, it's been 24 hours, you haven't had any food, and they're barbecuing up sausages, and you can smell it, and you can't really see it. And you're like, oh, this might be all right. And then like you get half a sausage each and 1 rasher of bacon. And then you go, oh, like, so you just eat it, and then that just makes you hungrier. Like it's just worse.
So I'm just going to fast forward. Obviously, we're moving into this year. So,
yep.
Yeah, started the year, and you're sort of in the squad training full time. And let's talk about that week, round 2, just at the start of the coronavirus. Restrictions are in place where there's no mass gatherings. NRL still being played, but in front of empty stadiums. Yeah. I want you to talk me through that week.
Yeah. Well, so, obviously it was a pretty exciting time, and also a bit of a weird time, as you touched on. But so I was 18th man the week before in round 1 for Cowboys, so I travelled up there. And, so I sort of, was, I guess, getting pretty close. And obviously they won up there, and that was sort of my first time because I warmed up. So that was on the on the Friday night. So I warmed up and everything. Didn't get to play, but was on the bench, was in the sheds after. So that was just unreal. And having that feeling just made me, it just intensifies that want to, be, you were there, but you weren't in a jersey, you were in a polo shirt. It was a bit, it's different, but it just made you want it more. So then, I flew out the next day to Mackay, played for Norths in the Q Cup. So we won, we went all right. And then obviously through the judiciary, Tavita got suspended, so he got charged and suspended. So I think all that news had sort of come out, Saturday night, Sunday morning. And obviously, it's me sitting there, you sort of start looking and be like, oh, he's a forward. I was the 18th man forward. So you sort of was sitting there, and there definitely was like a lot of anxiety on that Sunday. Just wondering, oh, well, is it going to happen? And you're like, I'd sort of think to myself, you've got all this, noise going on in your head. Well, it should happen. Like, oh, should it? Oh, well, like, will it go different? I don't know. All these things where, you're thinking about. And then I actually missed Sieves's call. So I must have just had my phone on the bed or something. And so I haven't, and I was just walked around, having a bit of a laugh, doing whatever I was doing. And then I checked my phone, and it's like, Anthony Seibold, missed call. And I've just gone, oh, no, so I've just gone, well, he's not ringing me on a Sunday night to talk about, how my weekend was. He's either going to be yeah, we're going to run you, or, we're going to go a different way. So that's sort of where my mind was at when so I was just sat there, was pretty nervous and shocked, and just had a lot of stuff running through my mind. But then I called him back, and he gave me good news, and just said, want you to get your head around it, before you come to training tomorrow. So that's sort of how that ran down. And then I think it's obviously always a really exciting week, leading up to that. Jersey presentations and, just training, sort of knowing that you're going to, get to make that debut. That's pretty special. It's pretty surreal. And obviously I think, so go on.
I was just going to say, you've got the news, you're going to debut. Obviously you've dreamt this your whole life. Was there any sort of strange feelings that you're thinking, oh, this is not how I had envisioned my debut to be? You can't have your mum and dad in the stands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, it was weird. That's definitely upset me. It was disappointing in that sense that, you couldn't, do that. But obviously, I think that was largely just overshadowed by being like, oh, I've got a Broncos number. I grew up a Broncos kid. My dad was a Broncos man. It was a massive amount of pride for me. And that's one thing I always thought about was, especially to be able to do it in a team that you genuinely love. It wasn't a team I moved away to, or that's something that I'll cherish. If I never, God forbid it, but if I've never played another game in my life, at least I can say I've got my number. It's gonna go down. In the records, in the books as
two strong carries for 20 meters.
Yeah, three foot, about 33, I think it was, and then one shoulder charge. But
well, let's go into detail on the debut. So talk me through game day.
Yeah. So I live with Jake and Katoni, who obviously they're both in the team. So sort of was just with them, all day. We had our captains run the day before. I saw Dad for dinner that night. So Dad was in Brisbane, so obviously he couldn't come, but so had dinner with him. So him and my missus and I went to dinner, had that, and then just pretty much came home, pretty cruisy, went to bed. Woke up. I think we all went to breakfast. We all go out for breakfast generally on a game day. So just had brekkie, and then didn't really do anything. We sort of just kicked back and watched movies and relax. So I don't want to really think about it too much, obviously. And have a little sleep. That's something I do even playing Q Cup. If you've got a 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock game, I generally, around 1 or 2 o'clock have a sleep, just for an hour or so, because it's quite different. I think even for that debut game, it was a 7:30 kickoff or a 7:50 kickoff. It's pretty late when you think about it, especially if you've been up by 7. So that's another thing. What a lot of the boys and we quite often do is like we'll try to stay up a bit later the night before, because you're almost better off like staying up till 11 or 12 the night before a game and then sleeping through till like 8 or 9 instead of getting up at 7. Then because if you're up at 7 a.m. like that's a long day before you're playing. You can sort of burn up a lot of energy being anxious and that. But it was pretty, nothing special, up until that moment. And then, obviously we got to the stadium, you sort of just start, I guess you just try to stick to the processes, just, go through your preparation, walk around, kick the footy around, do your warm-ups and that. And then obviously once warm-up starts, like it's just such a, different level of intensity, even doing just the pre-game warm-up, it's on another level. I think that's the difference between Q Cup and NRL. It's just the intensity and the eliteness. It's just everyone's talking, everyone's confident, knows their roles, and then obviously it was just waiting to get on, and
I'll just jump in there. Had Siebes told you what he had planned for the game for you, how many minutes and when you might?
So it didn't end up going that way. So the plan was to go on 10 before half time and play that 10 either side of half time, and then see how the back end of the game travels, because I've been playing a fair bit of back row recently in that time period. So the plan was, because we had Jamil Hopewadi was replacing Tavita in the back row. So we sort of wanted me to play 10 minutes either side of half time in the middle, and then see how he's going towards the end of the game. But then, so the person I was going to go on for was Paddy Carrigan, who I did go on for. But so I don't know if you remember, but the game ended up being like pretty slow paced, and so basically he didn't need a sub, and the game was really close. So sort of that was just a call Steve's made. So ended up going on, I think maybe 5 minutes into the second half, and did maybe about a 10-minute stint, and then came off and didn't get back on. But I guess that was the way it ran, and I was pretty happy with it. At the end of the day, I was just over the moon because we won, and I got to run on the field, so it was pretty special.
You would have been absolutely itching to get on, sitting on the bench thinking, am I going on? So how's those messages coming to you?
Yeah, well, obviously they've got, they're up in the box, they headset it down to, the coaching staff who sit on the bench, and so it sort of was like that. It was like, okay, get up, get ready. And then, the trainer would run out there and they'd sort of go, oh, maybe not yet, so sit back down, okay. But it's definitely was, you get a bit itchy and a bit anxious, a bit jumpy, but at the same time, just trying to stay calm. But, that's sort of the messages they give you is, just stay calm, don't be worried, don't worry too much, just go out there, do what you normally do. And all the staff, all the coaching staff are really good, and I've known most of them for a number of years, so definitely really comfortable with that. And all the boys, obviously do a good job of sort of, a few messages, a few chats on the field, just simple, come with me, talking to each other in the line. Definitely, that's one thing to be said about it is, when you're sort of playing with the best, it almost makes it easier, even though it's at a higher level, because, the people around you are just so good at doing their job that, it sort of makes it easier for you just to focus on what you've got to do.
And you don't have a lot to compare that to, obviously being your debut, but what was the general vibe around playing at Suncorp with an empty stadium? Was it a bit eerie, or how did you guys?
Yeah, well, it was just, in all honesty, it just felt like a training run, to be honest, like an opposed session, in terms of it was just different because you could hear everything. So you could hear them talking clearly, you know what I mean? Because even at a bloody Q Cup game or whatever it is, you can hear, the crowd, you can't hear the other team word for word, but whereas you could hear, their playmakers vividly saying, whatever it is, Bird, go there, do that. And then obviously it was the same from us. You could hear every sort of word. So it was definitely a bit strange, obviously the whole stadium being empty. But I guess, hopefully there's, plenty more of those to come with a full stadium. And, I guess it makes a half decent story to, be. I think there was 2 debutants that week. There was a kid from the Bulldogs as well. So, I guess probably the only 2 people that ever debut in front of no one.
Well, you can put that in your biography, mate.
Yeah.
Actually, it'll be an autobiography because
it might be an autobiography.
You'd write your own. You're smart enough.
Yeah, maybe. Jeez, that's a lot of writing, but it might be like a condensed one, just a shorter version.
Well, hopefully you've got plenty of stories to tell, mate. You've got a long career ahead. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about the rest of this year and beyond. You had your debut, and that I imagine would have been one of your goals for this year.
Yeah.
What are your goals for the remainder of this year and beyond?
Yeah. Well, obviously I think coming into the year, the debut was number 1, so I got to tick that off. But then I guess the second one's sort of hard to achieve now, because that was, if I'm not playing NRL, I wanted to sort of be dominated in Q Cup, so being a form player in that competition, which with that being cancelled, I'm honestly not sure if it's something they can uncancel or not, or if that's a viable option. Like, this is just me speculating, but I don't think they can restart it now. I think NRL will be the priority, so I don't see that starting that back up. So that's difficult to achieve. But then I guess obviously the next thing would just be just to make it more of a consistent thing. Playing NRL. Get the debut, and then once you've got that, you just want to start sort of adding more rungs on the belt. Get a few more games up if I can. Throughout the year, that'd be great. And then I guess just if not, just be training as hard as I can, because that's all you can really be doing at the moment. Is just put in a training. I guess then if you want to look outside of footy, obviously uni, I wanted to knock off a four subjects to a semester this year, and do them well. So that's probably it.
Mate, it's been great to chat to you. Really good to see you. Best of luck for
Same to you.
This year, and hopefully we can get some Nudgee boys in the grandstand at Suncorp by the end of the season.
That'll be awesome. We'll have to sort something out. Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome.
Mate. Well, all the best.
Cheers,
and take care.
Thanks. Have a good one.
G'day Nudgee and g'day Nudgee Grandstand. Springer Solar are proud sponsors of the Nudgee Rugby program. We may be green, we may be in a green industry, but we bleed blue and white. Myself and my 2 brothers are Nudgee old boys. Springer Solar are CEC accredited electrical contractors, and we've been running for 18 years. We're master electricians, we are Solar Edge premium partners, we're an LG Platinum dealer. We support products that are high quality and high performing. Partner with Springer Solar for your residential or commercial solar system.